What does $1 million buy? When asked the question, what would you do with $1 million? Most people tend to give similar answers. Quit my job, buy my dream house, or go traveling. People often think that having $1 million would make all their dreams come true. In reality, $1 million may not really be that much money. 20 years ago, it might have been possible to fulfill these dreams. However, things are not so easy today. In most industrialized countries, prices for everything from food to transport to university fees have steadily increased over the years. Housing prices in particular have risen greatly. The main reason is that the population has increased, becoming very dense in certain areas. But there are fewer homes available for sale or rent. For example, in the U.S., the average price of a new home in 1990 was $149,800. The average price in 2010 was $272,900. With increases like that, you can see why owning property is considered a good long-term investment. Housing in city centers also costs more than ever before. People used to move from the city center to the outer city neighborhoods or suburbs to escape overcrowding and noise. Today, many are moving back because they want to be closer to their workplace. Since space is limited in these areas, supply has not caught up with rising demand, and prices have gone up as a result. For example, it is nearly impossible to find a place in London's expensive Mayfair district, or Manhattan in New York City, for $1 million. Even countries that traditionally have a lower cost of living, like India or Brazil, have seen property prices rise dramatically. A 2,000 square foot, 186 square meter, apartment in Mumbai's southern neighborhoods can cost more than $3 million, the same as a two-bedroom flat in central London. Inflation is another important reason for the rise in the cost of living. Over the last 150 years, as prices have gone up, the value of money has gone down, so we now need more money to buy things. In 1913, for example, $50,000 had about as much buying power as $1 million does today. Of course, people now earn more money than they did 150 years ago, but they also spend more on necessities such as food, medicine, and housing. Due to this increased cost of living and a tendency for younger generations to spend more, people are actually saving less than ever before. In order to live well after you retire, you should begin saving as early as possible. Experts suggest that after you stop working, you will need 70 to 75% of your salary to live on every month. In other words, if you make $3,000 per month while working, you will need between $2,100 and $2,250 per month to live on during retirement. This calculation assumes that you have no mortgage on a house to continue paying or other major expenses like your children's university education. However, more retired people now rent their housing because they can't afford to buy a home, so they will pay more in housing costs over time. People also have to spend more on health care because they live longer. Many people in developed countries now live into their 80s or 90s. Due to increased demand for housing, higher inflation, and a longer life expectancy, $1 million may not be enough to live on. Of course, where you live and how long you live will influence how far $1 million can go. To be able to retire early, travel the world, and build your dream home, you may have to be a millionaire many times over.
Lottery win, but happy? Every week, millions of dollars are spent and won on lottery tickets. With jackpots hitting hundreds of millions of dollars, many lottery winners suddenly find themselves with much more money than they're used to. Many will have enough to purchase a new car, buy a luxury house, take a holiday, and quit working, all within a short space of time. These lucky few, however, may end up with more problems than they had before they struck it rich. According to financial planner Stephen Goldbart, 2 out of 3 winners spent all their winnings within 5 years. Newly affluent lottery winners are actually in quite a tricky situation, so much so that lottery organizers employ counselors to help them. These counselors encourage winners to get advice from financial experts, such as accountants, about how best to invest their earnings. The counselors also help winners to understand how their lives may change for the better, and possibly for the worse. Many lottery winners are sensible when managing their new wealth. Some, however, do not use their money wisely and end up getting into various unforeseen difficulties. Take a look at the fortunes of 2 very different lottery winners. Michael Carroll is an example of what can happen to lottery winners if they don't manage their money carefully. When Carroll was 19 years old, he won £10 million in England's national lottery. At the time, Carroll was working as a garbage collector, and the money changed his life. 3 months after winning the lottery, he bought a home in a small town and turned the backyard into a 24-hour racetrack. The constant noise and dust upset his neighbors. He also purchased several luxury vehicles, but was stopped for driving a brand-new BMW without license plates or insurance. He was banned from driving for 6 months. This wasn't Carroll's first encounter with the law. He was frequently arrested for drug possession and other crimes, and was jailed for 9 months in 2006 for violent behavior. Upon his release from prison, Carroll applied for loans to make the payments on properties he had bought and to continue funding his extravagant lifestyle. In just 8 years, Carroll had spent all his winnings. It was reported in 2010 that he was trying to get his old job as a garbage collector back. After winning almost $29 million in a North Carolina lottery in 2009, Billy and Jeff Wilson say they have learned a lot about managing money. When people found out that the father and son had won so much money, the family had to leave their hometown to avoid people asking them for financial help. Billy, the elder Wilson, stopped working, but likes to believe that winning the lottery hasn't really changed them as people. He said, "We live around a bunch of millionaires, and some of them are the most miserable people on earth. Just because you have money doesn't make you any better than anyone else, and sometimes it seems like they forgot that." His son Jeff says he just enjoys hanging out with friends and fishing. Thanks to the sensible way in which they handled their lottery money, the Wilsons are set to enjoy their winnings for a long, long time. If you should happen to be lucky enough to win a lottery, here are a few simple rules that financial advisors recommend following. Meet with an accountant or other financial advisor. Pay all debts, such as home mortgages, car loans, and credit card bills. Calculate how much money will be needed to live on every year, and then invest the extra money. Hand in your resignation only when you know you really don't need the job anymore.